Welcome to Mishna study of Masechet Demai, Perek Aleph Mishnah Gimal. Over here, we're going to continue on the leniencies, lenient laws involved with Demai, but over here, we're going to focus on because of its use, right? Because of its function, therefore, we're going to have leniencies, and we're going to see some things are patur from Demai. When we say patur from Demai, you always have to remember the item itself is Demai, and we're saying it's patur from even separating the Terumat Ma'aser and Ma'aser Sheni, right? Those are the two leniencies when it comes to Demai, right? Because Demai in itself, the only thing we need to separate are those two. So let's jump into this Mishnah and we'll explain as we go through. Halokach lezera v'libhema kimach la'orot shemen l'ner shemen l'suchbot ha'kelim patur min ha'demai mikeziv ulhalan hayav b'demai halat am ha'aretz v'hameduma v'halakuach b'chesef ma'aser v'shirei ha'menachot v'shiarei ha'menachot piturim min ha'demai. So if a person purchases, right, he purchases demai for what? He's buying it to replant. He's not eating it. He's replanting these seeds. Or the behema for his animal food. Or he buys flour for his hide, right? What they would do is to work the leather. They would need also some kemach, some flour in there to work the leather. So he goes ahead and he buys it for that. Or shemen laner. He buys oil not for consumption for eating, but he wants to use it to light. And he wants to light candles, Shabbat candles, right? All these things he's going to be patur from demai. Shemen l'suchbot ha'kelim. Or similarly, he buys oil in order to polish his kelim. All these are patur from demai. He doesn't have to separate not terumat ma'aser and not even the ma'aser sheni. Mikeziv ulhalan hayav b'demai. From keziv and onward. Right? Keziv is a place in Eretz Israel. Anyone remember where it is? We actually had this mentioned in Sefer Bereshit by the story of Yehuda and Tamar. From Keziv and onward, over here, we're saying it's obligated in Demai. Meaning what? We're going to say inward towards Eretz Israel. So Keziv is the border. It's the border of the place where we had two rounds, basically two times when Bnei Israel entered into Eretz Israel and they conquered, right? We call that Ole Mitzrayim and Ole Bavel. When they came into Yoshua, that was Ole Mitzrayim. They went, whatever they conquered, that was part of Israel proper. Then we went to Galut. We returned with Ezra, Ole Bavel, and we conquered Eretz Israel again. But that conquest was much less. It wasn't as much as we conquered in Eretz as the first time around. And anything that was conquered with Ezra, we call it Ole Bavel, that's going to be obligated into Turumot Ma'asrot. That's Hazakav Eretz Israel. But what wasn't conquered is going to be considered as Chutz La'aretz. And this area, this city of Keziv is on that border. And we're saying that border and inward is going to be Hayav in Demai. I would just point out over here, other Girsaot, other Mishnahot say Patur from Demai. And in that case, you would have to explain that Keziv and outward. Right? But Harambam, when he says Hayav in Demai, it's obviously talking Keziv and inward, right? Towards Jerusalem, right? Everything towards Jerusalem is going to be Hayav in Demai. So we say everything is Hayav because we assume that it's part, right? Anything found in that area from Keziv and inward is going to be Hayav in Demai because we're going to assume that it's from that area. We're going to assume it's Hazakah, that is from Eretz Yisrael proper, unless we know that it came from outside. I would just also point out, therefore, that any other, Rambam says, that we're not going to make any other fruits that come from Chutz La'aretz, we're not going to obligate in Demai unless we know, right, that they came from, right, unless we know that they were part of Eretz Yisrael. Now, Halat Ha'aretz, the Halah, right, bread of an Ha'aretz, and Meduma, right, the Meduma is a mixture. It's a blend of regular chudin, fruits, and teruma. Teruma got mixed in with it. We call this meduma. Right? It actually comes from the pasuk because dema is teruma. Right? Right? So dema is teruma. So we call this meduma. It's a mixture that has teruma inside. And halakuach bechesef maaser. Let's say a person went to Jerusalem. He took his maaser sheni money and he bought something with it. Right? That's also also anything that you bought with that ma'aseh, that's also going to be. We're going to go through. Also, shiarei menachot, what's left over from the korban mincha. right? We know the korban mincha is brought in as a korban from a flour offering, and whatever is left over is given to the kohanim. So also this. So these three items, because of their sanctity over here, their kedusha, they're also going to be patur from demai, right? The Gemara explains when the Hachamim made the gezerah on demai, they were not gozer on these items, right? It's in the rabbi's hands to be gozer, to say what's considered demai, what's not. And when they made the gezerah that you need to go ahead, if you have demai, you need to go ahead and separate trumat maaser and maaser sheni, they excluded these three items because of the kedusha involved. Shemen arev is shemen that you're using for anointing, right? Who shemen has a tima mevusam, right? Not necessarily, actually. It could be anything that's actually used for like a perfume, right? Bet Shammai mechayivim. Bet Shammai says it's hayav in demai, and Bet Hillel potrim, right? Bet Hillel poter from it. Why? I would assume because it's again not used for eating, similar to the first half of the Mishnah.